So, my husband and I just got back from traveling through the UK, and we picked up a few books and notebooks and paper things, just a few along the way, that we ended up just stuffing in cracks and crevices in our backpacks, shoving our tote bags full, and somehow managed to bring them all back here to Canada. This is the stack. This is what we're looking at. And so I'm really excited to share these with you today. Okay, the books are somewhat organized, somewhat categorized. So I'm just going to go through them sort of mini stack by mini stack, and we'll see how that goes. So the first ones I want to show you are Shakespeare books that we picked up when we were visiting Shakespeare's birthplace and his schoolhouse in Stratford-upon-Avon in England. That experience was fantastic, especially the schoolroom. We loved it. We got to sit in this classroom and we had the master teaching us Latin and all these things. The idea was to sort of give us an authentic experience of what it would have been like for the boys who went to school there, including young Will. Back in the day, we practiced our penmanship with feather pens and bottles of ink, and I actually sat in the desk that King Charles sat in when he was Prince Charles back in 2016 when he visited Shakespeare's schoolroom. I sat in the same desk as him, which is really, really neat. So the first book that I got, it was just a special edition of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I gobbled this play up. Didn't take me very long to read. I read it on our trip. Fantastic. I just love it. I love the Greek tragedies. I like Shakespearean tragedies, but I really enjoyed this comedy, which is set in ancient Greece and sort of all the Greek allusions and things going on. It seems like a silly story, but there's a lot of deeper insights and deeper truths in A Midsummer Night's Dream, so I really enjoyed that. And then we got a children's edition of Shakespeare's First Folio. Check this out. So this is the special edition of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and this is the first folio, which is abridged, so the plays are all shortened, but it contains every last play of Shakespeare, the comedies, the histories, and the tragedies, these insanely beautiful illustrations, cast lists, character illustrations, and then just an abridged, shortened version of each play for children. We don't have any kids yet, but one day I'm so looking forward to reading this to future kids one day, hopefully. It's so beautiful, and I think they only sell these on the Shakespeare Trust properties, so it's sort of a matter of, we're not going to find this back home in Canada. We don't have kids yet. It's big and it's heavy, but it's just too good to pass up on. So, yeah. Then in Fort William, Scotland, we got this Nessie storybook for our future niece who is on the way. I'm putting together a gift basket for her, and I just thought it was really cute. It's about a little girl who goes out on Loch Ness with her uncle and meets Nessie, the Loch Ness monster, who is so beautifully portrayed. And there's not a whole lot to say about that. The storyline is okay, but I really love the illustrations. And we did learn a lot about the lore surrounding Nessie, the Loch Ness monster, and some of the scientific studies that have been going on in Loch Ness to try to figure out, is something down there? So I just thought this was kind of a neat souvenir to bring back. Okay, next I want to show you Zach's Sir Walter Scott collection. He picked up 5 of the Waverley novels. I think Rob Roy is one counts as a Waverley novel, but I'm not sure. We were at the Writers' Museum in Edinburgh, which was commemorating Sir Walter Scott, Robert Louis Stevenson, and Robert Burns, and this book was like £3. So Zach, having never read Sir Walter Scott before and not really knowing anything about him until we visited the Writers' Museum, just grabbed this from the gift shop there and absolutely devoured it. He loved it. Rob Roy was his introduction, and he was hooked. So then, as we're traveling along and going to different used bookstores, he found these vintage editions of other of the Waverley novels. So we have here Kenilworth, which I believe is some sort of romance. We have The Red Gauntlet, Tale of the 18th Century. Ivanhoe, of course, he loved Ivanhoe, and then The Heart of Midlothian. And I don't know much about these books, so I can't really tell you what they're about. I know that they're all set in Scotland or England. Very historical, but just really good fiction with really compelling characters. One day I'll pick up one of these and give Sir Walter Scott a read for myself, but until then, I'm just sort of trusting Zach's word on how good these are. I mean, just look how beautiful these books are. I'm happy to have them in my house, even if I don't end up reading them. But of course, my goal is always to read the books that we buy. But these were definitely sort of Zach's thing, his pick, and his new obsession. So let me know if you've read any of these and what you have to say about Sir Walter Scott, which ones you recommend reading first out of the Waverley novels, because there are so many. Celtic fairy tales and legends. I picked this one up at the bookstore in Fort Williams, the Highland bookstore, and these are just lovely stories, folklore, folk tales, and just some of the Celtic legends that I felt like really just gave life to the area that we were traveling through. So I gobbled these up while we were traveling. I love this book. I just think this would be a great book, again, to read these stories to kids one day, to have in a nursery, that kind of thing. Okay, moving on to my real treasures, which are Tolkien books that I picked up in Oxford. Farmer Giles of Ham. I've never read this story, but I have The Hobbit and I have The Adventures of Tom Bombadil in these sort of really pretty, small, just really adorable editions. So when I saw that they had Farmer Giles and Smith of Wootton Major, I think this one is the one I'm most looking forward to. I've heard the most about this story. I just had to grab these and add them to my collection. They're just so beautiful. Like, what? These are just the most lovely editions I've ever seen. Tree and Leaf. This has got Leaf by Nigel, which is my favorite short story of Tolkien. It's got Mythopoeia, his poem. It's got On Fairy Stories, and a poem that I'd never heard of before, The Homecoming of Beornoth, which I did read. I read this book on the plane home, and it was fantastic. This really reminded me sort of like a Beowulf type of poem, which of course those Anglo-Saxon poems were Tolkien's specialty, and it really felt like I was reading an Anglo-Saxon poem, which I'm sure would be a great compliment to Tolkien. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to have some of his essays and shorter works in print in a collection so that I don't have to keep like finding them online and printing them off. It's really nice to just have it in a book that I can mark up and annotate and stuff. Oh, I love Leaf by Nigel. It moves me, brings me to tears every time. So good. And then, the most beautiful edition of the Silmarillion that I've ever seen. This is just gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. Take off that and it's a brown book. And just the quality of the pages, of the text, the color of the images, and of the titles. It's just such a stunning book. I read the Silmarillion this past year, but I had this sort of cheaper paperback edition, and I totally did a ton of underlining and sort of made a mess of it. It's not in great condition anymore, so I wanted to have like a nice quality collector's edition to go alongside with my really workable take along anywhere edition. And I've never seen this in Canada, and I can't find it on Amazon or anywhere online that ships to Canada, at least not for a reasonable price. So I just had to get this. And again, all these Tolkien books were at Blackwell's Bookshop in Oxford. They had a fantastic Tolkien collection. They had just all of his works, every last one in so many different editions. They had old editions, vintage editions, sort of locked away behind glass, and then they had newer, high-quality editions of everything. Just had the best time there looking through all the books, and yeah, I'm so happy to have this. My very own beautiful Silmarillion. Just love this book so much. Okay, some used editions that I picked up. I got the Orestian Trilogy by Aeschylus, the Theban Plays by Sophocles, and then 4 other of Aeschylus's plays. I think we only have 7 of his plays, so that would be these 4, and then the Orestian Trilogy. And I devoured all 10 of these as we were traveling. They are so, so good. I think my favorite were still the Theban Plays by Sophocles, especially Antigone I found really, really powerful. These editions aren't in the best shape. They were pretty cheap, and I actually love having like just the old Penguin classics are really great. I love the sort of weathered, stained yellow look of the pages, the smell of them. Just everything about them I prefer to like a new edition. So I'm so glad I picked these up. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight picked up in a Penguin Classic edition as well. And then King Harold's Saga, Harold Hardradi of Norway by Snorri Sturluson. I am on like a big Viking kick. I just find Viking history and literature so interesting. So I really, really enjoyed King Harold's Saga. I mean, it's not like the best poetry ever. It's a bit of like historical prose and then poems because this author, Snorri, is citing other poets who wrote about King Harold and other of these figures' adventures and feats. Anyways, this was really great. I really loved this, and I'm looking forward to collecting some more of Story Sterlison's work because I'm pretty sure he has like this massive masterwork, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but it has sagas. I think he covers like literally all of like Norwegian and Danish and Icelandic history. He just covers everybody. He's got everybody's saga. It's like one of the great sources that we have for this time period and these people groups. So I need to look more into that, and I'm looking forward to reading the Prose Edda, the Vinland Saga. I have a list of all these sort of Norwegian, Danish, Icelandic sources that I want to get my hands on and give a read. So yeah, very excited about that one. And then a few miscellaneous books that we picked up. Jude the Obscure we picked up at Blackwell's in Edinburgh. I love Thomas Hardy novels, and this is one of my favorites, but it's quite dark. I actually struggled with it a lot. It made me a little bit sick to my stomach at certain points. This is Christminster, which is modeled after Oxford. It is Oxford, but he calls it Christminster in this book. The Greatest Escape. I don't know much about this. It's a war story. This was something that Zach picked up again in Edinburgh at Blackwell's. And then same with Tom Holland Dominion, which I'm in the middle of. Picked that up at Blackwell's. It's a thicker paperback, but I'm really enjoying it so far. So these ones are sort of random, but they're great.
Okay, now I'm going to show you some of like the paper items that we got. Notebooks, ephemera, postcards, even a beautiful map, which I'm very excited. I bought it for my classroom. I'm going to have it framed. So yeah, I'm going to get right into that.
Okay, let's start with the map. So this is a map of Oxford. I picked it up at a store called Scriptum, which was all like paper supplies, like beautiful leather, notebooks, pens, paper things, ephemera, just a writer's dream, essentially. We didn't have a ton of time in there, and it was really hot. So I only got a few things, but this map was one of them. It's just a gorgeous map of Oxford that shows you all the main buildings, the libraries, the churches, and the colleges. My favorite college is definitely Magdalen. We had the best time exploring that one, and that's where C.S. Lewis was a fellow and a don and a tutor for many, many years. So I want to hang this in my classroom as sort of an aspirational piece to show my students the world that they could enter if they just work really, really hard. So yeah, hopefully it inspire them to pursue higher education, and who knows, maybe some of them will go to Oxford. Some of them are definitely intelligent enough and hardworking enough for it. And then, okay, this is a bit of a mess. University of Edinburgh pin. Had to get that because I don't have one yet. Probably going to pin this to one of my blazers or jackets. This is a postcard that I picked up in Stratford-on-Avon. The Anatomy of Melancholy. I think I want to frame this one as like a classroom decor piece. This card is just really funny. Hear ye, welcome to the Middle Ages. Not sure who I'm going to give this to yet. Maybe my dad. He's turning 50 this year. This was something I just grabbed at the end of one of our Bodleian tours. This is Duke Humphrey's library, which is heaven on earth. Like, if I could live somewhere, it would be right there. Right there. I'm actually not sure where this came from. Might have been inside of a book. This was the door of a church in a little town in the Cotswolds, and I forget the name of the town, but it was one that Tolkien went to frequently, and supposedly this very door, which had these two, I'm blanking on what type of trees they are as well, but it had these two trees growing right beside the door. Supposedly it inspired him for one of the doors in The Lord of the Rings. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I thought it was like Durin's door or the door into Moria or something, but I don't think there would have been trees by that door. I can't remember. That's very sad. But anyways, it was a really cool story. Couldn't not collect this card since it had a connection to Tolkien. Here's some beautiful cards that I picked up at a little shop in Oxford. Here's the Radcliffe Camera or the Sheldonian Theatre, I'm not sure. I think this is Magdalen College Tower in the background. Oxford's Dreaming Spires. This might be the Magdalen Tower. Yeah. The Oxford Botanic Gardens and Magdalen, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Magdalen Tower. And here's a door into the Bodleian, the Schola Moralis Philosophy, so the School of Moral Philosophy, Bodleian Library door. These were so cool to see in person. It was just all the different entrances with their different Latin titles depicting which sort of subject area that part of the library was dedicated to. So cool. These are from the same store. I have a few of these hanging up in my house from the last time I was in Oxford 3 years ago. This time I got a view of part of the library and a view of the inside of the Radcliffe Library. These are very, very special, and I'm not sure if I have space for them in my tiny house, so they might head straight to my classroom in September. Oh, these were our calligraphy attempts that we did in Shakespeare's schoolroom. Another view of the Bodleian Library. A few more Shakespeare prints. These are so cool. I think these are potentially from his first folio, the first one that they published. Anyways, these are so neat. I want to find frames for these as well for my classroom or a bulletin board or something. Here is a notebook that I picked up in Scriptum in Oxford, at the same store where I got the map. It's a little bit gilded. I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but there's like flecks of gold all through it. It's just beautiful. A gorgeous blank notebook. This is supposedly something that you can put behind your page if you want sort of have the outline of lines. So that's pretty neat. Here's another little notebook. This is Shakespeare's birthplace. It's really cute. Just a little blank notebook. It's from the Highland Bookshop. This is the Glenfinnan Viaduct. We went over that in the train, the Harry Potter train, and the Isle of Skye. We visited both of these, so I just thought they were nice little postcards. Edinburgh patch that I'm hoping to sew on Zach's travel backpack. A few more Shakespeare postcards. I believe we got these at the Shakespeare Theatre in Stratford-on-Avon, so those are really neat. Here's just a postcard of Scotland. I sent this same one to my friend Kira, but then I wanted one for myself. Here is a view of the Writers' Museum as it was when it was still the home of Lady Stairs. It still looks quite like this, except of course there's, the bookshop in the background and whatnot. It's a little bit different. I love this. This is so funny. I believe this is a Robert Burns, a Robert Burns poem, To a Louse, which is one of the few poems by him that I'm familiar with. I immediately recognized it, and I just thought this was really cool because it has a little illustration of the lady who has the louse on her hat in church as well. Then these are Robert Louis Stevenson poems in card format. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them quite yet, but I really like them. They're cool. Oh, I think I'm missing my very favorite one. I wonder if Zach still has it in one of his books. No, I just looked for that missing postcard and I couldn't find it anywhere. He was using it as a bookmark, so I'm hoping he didn't lose it or drop it somewhere because I loved it. It had a ship on it. It was great. It might turn up somewhere still in our backpacks or in a book somewhere. That is my haul. That's all the things that we picked up in Scotland and in England, besides a little bottle of Scotch whiskey and a gift that we bought for Zach's mom. It was her birthday while we were away. It was like a beautiful little pack of homemade in the Highlands sheep milk or goat milk face creams and lotions that smelled like heather and nettle or some like Highland scent. It was authentic, locally sourced sort of beauty products. Anyways, I don't have those anymore. We gave them to her, but that is everything. So if you're still here, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed seeing all the little knickknacks that I picked up and all the great books. I'm still planning to edit and put out our adventures in England, in Stratford-upon-Avon, and in Oxford. So stay tuned for that if you're interested, and make sure you watch our Edinburgh, Scotland book shopping vlog, which was posted before this. Please give this video a like, comment down below what you think of my haul, and I will see you again very soon.